Boom, here we go. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to be going over one of our favorite little learning lessons, which is going to be the Wyckoff trading ranges. I have a great little episode kind of planned out for everyone that's new to crypto. We're going to be going and kind of backtracking into what we had been learning with the private bear group for the last few months. I think it's an incredibly important aspect, not just being a good trader or a good investor, but these types of trading ranges allow you to make extremely intelligent market decisions without having to think a whole lot. Now, the better you get at finding those market indicators within the trading range, I guess the more exponential your trades can become. But for now, we're going to keep it somewhat basic, and we're going to start from the more simple aspects of the trading range. So hopefully today's sound is going better. I did have more time to actually plan this episode because everything seems to be working fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at the primary trading range that we had been following in Bitcoin for the previous months up to now. So on the screen right now, you should be able to see Bitcoin. And this is what we have been watching for a few months. Now, I know it looks kind of messy, but there's a reason for that. It's because we haven't redrawn this at all since we started this. So for those of you, if you want, you can go back and look at my videos in March, April, May, June, July, August, although some of my videos in March were more about the pandemic. That's another story. What I want to go over today is looking at some of these basics. So I'm going to go over and look at one of our private members' PDFs. So what we're going to start off is by understanding the dynamics of a market cycle. This is kind of an idealized version of what a market cycle looks like. At the bottom, you have an oversold condition, which is what we call accumulation. And at the top, you have a distribution phase, which is recognized as an overbought symbol. So this area of demand supply, what we're looking at is how are whales or composite man effectively moving the markets. And as traders and investors, what we want to do is effectively figure out where in the market cycle we are. So if we go back to trading view, we can see, I'm going to actually clean this up here. I did leave the crypto back on. It looks better without it. And we'll go back to our area chart just because it makes it look a little cleaner as well. Okay, so this is what we've had drawn on our screen since March. And there's a reason why this is so powerful. Now, we are obviously very high up in the markets, but previously, back in the months of March, April, May through June, July, August, we had this horizontal trading range. This was known as an area of accumulation. This is where we were generally oversold, and it represents this part of the market cycle. And again, this is kind of an idealized version that we're looking at right now. Obviously, it just doesn't go up and then go down. There's usually actually a little bit of a middle ground here where we have reaccumulation, and we can see that operating in here as well. So right now, what we want to focus on is I guess kind of going back in history and looking at what this represented. So before we started to break out in March, I said, hey guys, we're in a bull market here. Start piling in. And effectively, and I'll continue to reiterate this, you could have effectively been buying every single day since March 11th, because that's when the bull market started. The bull market started on the day the pandemic was declared because that was the peak moment of fear in the human psyche, and it is also highlighted quite often by what other great investors have called buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own. Now, the pandemic represented this peak moment of fear. So as soon as we left this trading range, we had this one final moment back around $11,000 where we had a very tight spread. And as soon as we broke above the trading range, we've done nothing but go up since then. Now, this is important for a few reasons. A, because it allows us to retrospectively see that we were right, which is congratulations. That always feels good. But more importantly, it allows you to front run the market. A lot of people didn't realize we were in a bull market until we were up at $20,000 to $30,000, right? When there is a very clear evidence that we were in a bull market as soon as we left the $12,000 area, breaking out of this horizontal trading range. So if we go back and we kind of continue through this market cycle understanding, what we want to go through, I'm going to skip down. We want to focus on this type of accumulation pattern. Actually, hold on. Let's see. I've got some better ones drawn up. So again, this was Tron. Again, it doesn't really matter which one it is, which token you're looking at. They're represented by our areas of A, B, C, D, and E, and that's what we see here. We had phase A. We had this is actually here. Phase B, phase C, our spring, phase D, which was represented by the test, our first LPS, and then the primary SOS. Now, we've been in a primary SOS since we left the box, which is actually pretty impressive. The fact that we have so much strength in Bitcoin after having left the box, I think is just a testament to the character of Bitcoin. And we should use it to our advantage to understand that you don't want to try to beat the market leaders by being like, oh, I'm going to pick XRP because it's like the most amazing technology. It's not even close, because we already chose a market leader. We chose a market leader a long time ago, and that's Bitcoin. Right now, it doesn't mean that there's not room for other protocols. Again, the internet is built out of many different protocols that all simultaneously function together. Bitcoin is effectively functioning as our collateral layer. And we're looking at DeFi more so as kind of like with the fintech sector, lending, borrowing, credit scores, all this exciting kind of extra that comes along with the financial sector. So there's a massive amount of potential there. But again, the market had already picked Bitcoin as our collateral, so don't try to beat that. I use it as the majority of my portfolio, and everything else I look at as a venture capital bet. I've said this a few times. So when we're looking at these market cycles, we're quite high up. And what I actually think we're going to see is the first part of reaccumulation. So when we were looking at market cycles, we drew it as kind of this idealized, overbought and then oversold in terms of accumulation and distribution. But I think much more frequently, what you end up finding is here's your oversold area, you shoot up, you see an area of reaccumulation, and then a massive blowout before distribution. So this likely that we're witnessing right now is a big area of reaccumulation. It's where you're going to see a lot of hedge funds, institutions take profit that were entering at the $3,000 area, and they're creating another new trading range. So as we go into the smaller time frames, I want to make some of this clear because I think it got a little lost in translation in yesterday's video due to some of your guys' comments. I could tell that it wasn't very clear, so I want to go over this. We were watching a rising gradient bottom here, and what I effectively thought was we would see another spring and a test to the POC line, which looks like we're getting. But more importantly, this is most likely a much bigger trading range that we're seeing form here. Very similar to what we witnessed prior, and actually let's use the Heiken Ashi frames as well, because I think those candles will be a little bit more definitive for this area. So to me, it looks like we're forming a much larger trading range where we have our primary support, our buying climax, followed by our test, our secondary test, automatic rally, and then likely another spring coming in here as well. So I think this will probably take us pretty close to maybe February, March. And then again, what we're likely witnessing is a much bigger trading range. And here we have a long-term support line coming up through the bottom as well. So we may actually be witnessing another rising gradient bottom through this trading range. Now, we've gone over this a few times before. There we go, back to that chart. And what we want to do is recognize these larger trading ranges and the volatility that's taking place, because they're no fun to trade. Well, unless you're buying spot, in which case it's actually pretty easy. You can just keep accumulating. But I do suspect that we'll see something like this, a spring. We may not go as low as 26,000 on that spring. That was just kind of an adjunct drawing that I drew there. But this formulation of understanding trading ranges is probably one of the most beneficial ways to learn about trading humanly possible. Richard Wyckoff did a great job of this. As I've mentioned many times before, if you guys want, you can find countless resources on the internet for free, right? You don't need to just come to the Arcane Bear, but I want to do a live stream every day where we go over this and we can study together, because sometimes there is a lack of clarity. I had questions of you guys looking at this smaller trading range, even though I had at least thought to some degree in my mind, I had thought that it was clear that it was this larger PSY and buying climax that was more interesting to me. So we'll keep repeating it. That way there is nothing lost in translation. Markets move very quickly. And this is likely a prime opportunity to find positions in Bitcoin. Now, again, the volatility here is much too dramatic for me. I'm significantly more interested in these really thin, sexy trading ranges that we had back in December, where you're talking about 5 to 10% spreads. It allows for really heavy leveraged plays. And more importantly, as Bitcoin starts to consolidate here, you're likely going to see a lot of the other venture capital plays start to explode because they're limited in supply. So you guys are pointing out Link right now. So we'll go and we'll take a look at Link, already at $23. It looks like it just is finalizing one of its backup phases. So let's get rid of our momentum indicator here. There we go. So here we go. Here's another potential trading range for Link that we were watching. It looks like we're just at the final stages of that breakout of that trading range as well, which will be quite nice. Link could go much higher, and now that Bitcoin's consolidating, it's going to give room to breathe for the other sector because the whales are going to start to diversify. Link is a big game player. For any Bitcoin maximalists that don't understand what Link brings to the ecosystem, they just simply don't understand technology, and that's probably to their own discredit, sadly. I don't even understand technology, but I'm at least smart enough to listen to people that are smarter than me about technology and do a little bit of homework so I can understand the importance of oracles and verifiable randomness in the ecosystem, because it's extremely important. It makes what we do better. It makes Bitcoin better, effectively. So I'll clean this up here. I'll remove the crypto vac. Again, it does look like we had our primary support, our buying climax, our secondary tests. We had our spring, our jump across the creek, noticeable at the POC line, and we're seeing our first backup phase. This backup phase for Link here will probably be fairly short-lived. As we can see, the supply is diminishing, and we're still kind of rising on that price. So we're likely going to see the start of the breakout within the next week here. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But I would hope for a slight, let's go actually and look at the 45-minute and see what type of trading range Link is building. So again, these trading ranges are fractal in nature. So one of the most important parts about studying these is understanding that the larger time frames are much more conducive to getting it right on the long-term trades, whereas these shorter time frames give us the same amount of viable information. So on the 45-minute range here, we can see that we are just starting to potentially break above. So same idea here. Our primary support, our buying climax, our secondary test, other again, much shorter lived. And then this might be a jump up against resistance before we see a breakdown. And again, these are highlighted by other areas of reaccumulation that we had gone through in some of our studies. So let's take a look back at this one here. So again, this is kind of an idealized version of a trading range. I think we're probably hitting this primary resistance before we see the spring on this much smaller accumulation range for Chainlink. Now, it's late in this trading range to some degree, but again, I do suspect that what we're witnessing is just a resistance before you see this kind of drag down and a jump above the creek before a much bigger breakout. And it's probably going to go somewhat ballistic right now. Not right this second, but over time. So the reason we want to keep showing up and going over and reiterating this information is because I'm learning. I've only been in the markets for around 7 to 10 years, starting, failing, playing, executing, getting much better at investing, and then becoming a much better trader over those years as well. But it primarily, one of the first times I got into Bitcoin, I bought it at $90, and then I bought again at $1,000, which was the absolute top of basically 2012 and 2013. And at that moment, I told myself, I never want to buy at the top again and have to get dragged down. Now, I did hold through that situation, so I made an investor out of myself, but I made a bad speculator move, which is I bought basically at the peak climax of hope and hysteria. So these trading ranges have made a massive difference in my confidence because of what we see happening with Bitcoin, what we've been able to witness following these much larger speculation areas. I made a mess of my chart there, but that's okay. Again, these trading ranges allow us for a lot more clarity and understanding in our market sentiment. So when we were started to scream bull market in April, May, June, July, August, there's a reason for it. It's because we were watching this horizontal trading range. We had seen a very definite spring highlighted by chaotic human emotion, which perfectly fit the bill. We came up to our first area of our regression line, and now we've jumped up to our second area of regression. This is probably where we form that larger reaccumulation area. And then I think we're going probably to around $75,000 to $85,000 on the next cycle up. Now, there's reason to believe because of the stock and flow model that Bitcoin could go as high as a few $100,000 before dropping back down and forming another reaccumulation range. So again, if you guys are new to the market, first off, learning how to flex your investor muscles by investing frequently over the course of a decade is one of the best ways to go. But also in the meantime, you've got all this extra time to be studying, so don't waste it. Again, I suspect what we're about to witness here in Chainlink is going to be another kind of beautiful horizontal trading range before we see a massive breakout. I'm going to keep today's episode somewhat short, so hopefully that was helpful. Ethereum is also basically in the similar area. We saw our peak selling climax, at least for this, what looks like a new trading range forming, very similar to Bitcoin, at around $950. I do suspect that as these consolidate, it's going to give room to breathe for the rest of the DeFi sector, and the rest of the venture capital plays. We're still early on in this trading range. We have not seen our spring yet. We've just seen our first shakeout. So we'll probably see another. We might actually get a rising gradient bottom again for Ethereum now that it's a much more bullish market. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But again, guys, when we're following these smaller trading ranges, it was just to more so emphasize what a spring looked like, highlighted by the volume here before we continued up. We'll likely run into resistance, get a quick spring down, and break out of this trading range, and then can explode on our way to around $2,600. So today's episode is going to be short. I'm going to leave it at that. It's a beach day, so I'm going to go out surfing with some friends, take some drone shots, and get my tan on. I do live in one of the most gorgeous parts of the world, so I can't neglect that. But I'm going to take a moment now to go over any of your guys' thoughts and questions. So I'm going to jump over to the screen here, and we'll just do maybe around 10 or 15 minutes. Take a look. I'm all in .ada Avalanche. Polls and a few more. Okay, well, that's interesting. Good on you for being brave and risky. Not my most focused sentiment, but I do think venture capital is important, and those all fit in my venture capital bag. So I would chill at that. I had some link at 0.26. What's my safe sell? Well, if you're already up that high, I would be diversifying, but why not just keep accumulating more through other areas of revenue generation? It's a much smarter way to go. We're still in the early stages of this bull market, so keep that in mind. This is not a time to be taking profits. Don Ranger says, Aave, I wish I'd gotten into it, but so many coins I researched and I missed it. Yeah, Aave, Band, Avalanche, Polkadot, SNX, Uni. There's a few there that really fit the DeFi plays that I like, and more importantly, Avalanche. Guys, I'm going to probably have to do a dedicated video to Avalanche just because of how impressive their technology is. Don't forget that. Just from what the people who are better at tech tell me, wow. And that's all I can say, because I'm not smart enough. Like, I'm just glad that my Bluetooth mouse works, or that this my little dongles plug in and do something. Like, I have no idea how any of it actually works. But I trust the people that build it and then tell me about the value of it, and I interpret that. Again, I don't try to become a lawyer. I just ask a legal representative what I should do based off their best knowledge. Where are you? Let's see here. Sushi, I'm also bullish on. Yeah, it fits in there too, but Uniswap is a good one. Sushi has some interesting governance plays. So does Wi-Fi. Simp says I moved out of LTC into Link, and that's smart. Look, there's just so much better technology out there right now than things like than Litecoin, because the market picked Bitcoin. If you want a small amount in there as a just in case, that's fine. But there's really cool innovations taking place, and it's not in the older proof of work tokens right now. And that was a big change for me to recognize too. And when you change your mind, you should change your portfolio. Don't get caught up in being like a cultist or religious about something. When you see new advancements in technology, I invest in them. Anyways, keep that in mind. Cool. Lots of questions about tokens right now. I don't have time to go over too many of those today. Like I said, it's a beautiful, sexy day out in the jungle, so that's definitely where I'm going. Thanks for all the positive information, Beano Squad says, and the attention to detail when going through all of this. You have inspired me to build my portfolio over the last couple of months. Well, dang, Beano, I'm sure that's been working out really well for you, and I appreciate that it provides a confidence for those who have thought, oh, well, we're too high up. We had to ban people like Renee Montenegro, who kept saying, oh, we're going to see a dump soon. It's like, guys, we just started this bull market. We're not going to see a dump soon. Like, please be aware that it took 2 years of accumulation to get here. We're just getting warmed up. New Lux Stevie says, Arcane Bear, I just wanted to thank you for your videos, man. You are my favorite crypto channel on here currently, and I love the way you approach this. Thank you. Man, both of those comments were so positive. I really appreciate that, guys. One of the reasons why I do this is because when I first bought Bitcoin at the top, one of the things I wanted to do was figure out what I did wrong. And well, first off, as Bitcoin started to go $400, $500, $600, I started reinvesting again back in 2017. But this year, during the pandemic, I gave myself ample amount of time to study. I read as many books as I possibly could. I think I read almost 20 books in 2020. Just congratulations for me. I don't know. But the reason about that, or the reason behind that, is I feel that we often get stuck and stagnant thinking we know best and not educating and learning more. So we continue to go over the same things instead of adding new information to our toolkit. And for me, this was a huge moment to really learn more. And I've been more than grateful to be able to share it with you guys because it's led to a much higher level of confidence in my portfolio building as well. Neutralux TV says, I enjoy the Beach Brother, some dot profit from me to you. Oh, thank you, Neutralux. I love that. We've been, again, oh, hey, by the way, last thing, I'm going to do 2-year memberships for 30% discount. But you guys have to do something. Oh, okay. Well, David too says, thanks for doing what you do. You taught me to take things slowly and add over time, removing the emotional buys and sells. Yes. Yes. See, this is why we do this, is because it brings value to you guys. And my only mission statement, aside from like impact marketing, which was much closer to my heart, was just communicate value. And that's why I continue to try to study and educate myself further so that we can provide something valuable for you guys. So I'm going to do something fun right now, and I want to go over this too. So first off, viewer discretion is advised. I don't suggest anyone ever play with DeFi technology. Just these are disclaimers I have to make. The unqualified risks exist. So if you don't feel qualified to play with risky things, don't touch it. Okay? But we're going to offer 2 only private memberships for 30% discount. And this is what you're going to have to do. So the first people to do this and email info@Arcane Bear, you can get a year membership for 30% discount right now. So that would be about $260. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over, if you want to, I don't suggest to do it, you're going to go over to info.uniswap /this, whatever. You can find it by typing bear as well. And you can buy bear tokens. So we, alongside Roll, well, actually I didn't create this. Roll created the bear token, and we're using it. But the bear token is our way to provide you guys discounted memberships. So instead of having coupon codes, what we do is we incentivize community participation and community learning by playing with the technology, because I would be remiss if I didn't start to experiment with all the crazy nonsense that's going on here. So currently the bear token is sitting at 73 cents. So if you buy 360 bear token, that will get you 1 year membership into the private bear den. Now again, viewer discretion is advised. Disclaimers, like hold on, I could read all the disclaimers to you guys, but basically if you don't feel like you want to play around with technology, don't do this. If you feel you've got a good grasp, install yourself MetaMask, go through, you can get yourself 30% off by grabbing the bear token, emailing info@arcanebear.com, and then Lindley will help you out. And I guess if for some reason more than one of you or more than 2 of you guys do that, we'll figure out how many we can let in. But I don't want to do too many. But just for 2 people, so the first 2 people to email info@arcanebear.com, buy 360 bear tokens, you will get the 30% discount on the year membership. Anyways, I thought it was a fun way to play. Currently, we just mess around. Again, the token is a utility token. There's no proposed value whatsoever. Don't invest in it. Don't buy it. We just use it as a way to reduce, basically as a coupon code, and also for you guys to go through the experimental process. So I'm sorry I have to go through all those disclaimers just to be able to give you guys a discount, but it's also like a treasure hunt. You do have to learn something. You do have to put the extra effort in to get that. So hopefully that's kind of something fun for 1 or 2 of you to figure out. I'm going to leave it at that for the day. Thank you guys all for joining us. I really appreciate the support. This is a lot of fun for me, getting these positive feedback and reviews from you guys who are really enjoying this content. It means the world to me. So thank you. Someone says, who does your hair and wardrobe? The Jungle. Before I came here, I was sleeping by the river in the sun. So the Jungle is effectively my wardrobe. Wait, hold on. Mitch match. So definitely definitely the jungle is my wardrobe creator. So again, if you guys want, email info@arcanebear.com. You can play around with that. Otherwise, just use PayPal, because there's no risks involved with that. Like, you don't need to know how to do anything. You just type your email and pay, but you don't get a discount. Anyways, I thought we would do that for something fun. We'll continue to do that. And we'll play around with these ideas. I'm going to sign off for the rest of the day. We will be live every day for the rest of this year. That is the goal. I made that promise to myself, that even if we can't produce like fun storylines like we did with the ayahuasca video, I am going to be going live with you guys as often as possible. See, we will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. ish, or 1 or 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3 p.m. Costa Rican time every day. We will go live, even if I have to do it from my fucking phone. I appreciate all your guys' support from my mushroom smoothie with lion's mane, etc. Oh, don't want to drop water on the computer. No one's going to like that if all of a sudden I kill the computer during the live stream. Give us a thumbs up if you like this content. Or give us a thumb down if you don't like the content. Either way, whatever suits you the best. Leave your thoughts, your comments, your questions down below. I know I haven't been able to get to them as effectively. Oh God, I put myself out of focus now. There we go. I really appreciate all your guys' support. I have so much fun doing this. And we'll see you guys on tomorrow's episode. Stay with the Arcane Bear, and bam.